One of the things that drives me bonkers, because this was what happened the other day when I did have that consult, is big mistake I see people making is getting like the do-it-yourself program from their buddy who got the program from their buddy who magically lost like 20 pounds and put 15 pounds of muscle on or whatever, allegedly.
Yeah.
This is the program that works for everybody, and you should do this. That's not rooted in a lot of logic.
Yeah.
So I think the important piece of this is getting on a program that's appropriate for you, right? And how do you know what that is? Well, if you take into account some of the things we're talking to you about right now, when you look at the program, some of this could be, I just use the word, maybe a little bit intuitive, like, man, that looks like a lot, like in terms of volume. Like, this is a 6-day-a-week program. I'm just getting back into this, or I've been into it for a while, and there's no way I can ramp this up to 6. Guess what? Not the right program for you. This looks like a bro split program. Okay, it's probably not the bro split program. May or may not be the best choice for you, but getting something from somebody that doesn't have a little bit of rationale behind it, and it should be very clear to you as you're going into it what you should expect and not expect from this program, while also being very cautious that people will sell you all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So that can be a little bit of like treacherous territory.
Yeah, I guess one of the things I think about is, when you're the person that you're talking about or whoever is getting a program from a friend of a friend, what's that friend of a friend's vested interest in you?
Right. Here's another thing with exercise programming that I've seen. Like people rarely want to pay for it. Right. Mm-hmm. They understand being in front of a coach costs money, but they will do everything they can to try to cut that time out to just give me the answer. Right. Just give me the template. And I think we've seen the results of that. Like, because if the templates worked all the time, then everybody would be fit.
Yes.
Right. Everybody that goes to the gym would be fit, because a lot of them are working off templates. Some of them are just randomly doing stuff again. But if it worked like that, there would be a lot more fit people out there. And the reality of it is like a lot of this stuff is just not rooted in a lot of logic. There is some science and there's also an art to programming, but I think more importantly, it's like understanding who that programming is going to, mm-hmm. right? Because yes, there's a general framework of things we need to be doing in order to build muscle, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people think like we talked about this, have to do more than they really need to do. And that's very untrue. You don't, right? Again, if you manage the volume and the intensity, a couple of days a week can yield a fantastic result. So, there's not a lot of people out there selling, if I'm being honest, like 2-day-a-week muscle building programs, right? Because they recognize that's a hard sell to somebody that is expecting to see the 5 or 6-day-a-week muscle building program.
If you see that as a consumer, you're like, oh, there's only 2 days on here. I just paid for this program. I want to see a lot of content. Mm-hmm. I want to see a lot of different exercises. It's funny that kind of ties in right to kind of my next thought as the biggest thing is focusing on in general. I mean, this applies to anyone, but doing too much too soon and not being consistent. Yep. So I think like
that's a whole other big mistake. Yeah.
That's a whole other with this mistake. So we see this big program you get from someone and there's all this volume, there's all these exercises that you're trying to hammer in and it's way too much too soon. And then you're up and down, up and down, up and down. You're not actually consistent with the program. So like,
how much of the program are you actually getting done?
How are you actually getting done? And how many weeks or months or years are you actually doing these things versus you had a really good 2 weeks and you're destroyed and you couldn't keep going. Right. So I think the number one indicator is consistency. Like that should be one of the biggest points and it's funny, we just had a client who had to take some time off for some reasons. They had a procedure, they had to take some time off, and even just getting back, talking with her, seeing how easy it was, they're one of the most consistent people, seeing that a little bit of that step off of how easy it was to go the other direction, go out of that. Yeah. And then coming back, that initial, someone who's very consistent for years, that initial couple of days is like crawling through the mud a little bit. Yeah. So instead of stopping a routine, being consistent and maintaining those 2-3 days over time, ongoing and never stopping that, because it's a lot harder to start again the older you get versus stopping. So
yeah, I would definitely say like that is probably one of the largest mistakes people make is they're in and out of programs and they're program hopping.
Yes.
So they don't stay in anything very long or long enough. And weirdly they think, well, it's because it's not the right program. It's not working because it's not. you haven't been doing the program
Yes.
long enough to know that.
Yeah.
So what do? You hop to the next program. Maybe it's a DIY program. Maybe you got it from your buddy. Maybe you purchased something online, whatever else. But that program hopping leads right into the consistency piece. And so, again, going back to the how much could you get out of 2 days a week versus 6 days a week? Well, if you can consistently do a program that's well designed, right, in 2 days a week versus getting some or all, for that matter, of the workouts done in a not well designed program that doesn't really serve you as the individual the way you need or want or you need it to be. You might be getting more out of the 2 day a week program than you're getting out of the 6 day a week program with regard to muscle building.
Yes.
So I think those are that may be tough for people to wrap their heads around.